So I guess in my old age, um, and kind of based off of like what I've experienced in life, on this road and this journey, uh, I started really kind of heavily thinking about the concept or the idea of nothing. Like certain concessions have to be kind of made up front before you even discuss something like that, because needless to say, um, being that it's a term that we use and everything is not anything that defines nothing, because nothing has a definition, and that's something, or so on and so forth, is a word for it. But when I conceptualized nothing, in my mind, naturally I'd use kind of a reductionist level of approach, where you take like a system or whatever, like the universe, and remove objects out of it, until there's nothing. Well, um, kind of with the conclusion that I came to is that what could be perceived as nothing, could also be perceived as um, a type of space, sort of, if you will, where all the things that like aren't occurring, all of the vectors, all the potentials, all the ideas and thoughts, everything except for the tiny little sliver of what's present within any given now moment, is, the potential is there. And so, they got me thinking about um, non corporeality and like non physical stuff and things like that. And through a really long, kind of complicated thought process, and like having been put into a situation where um, something really massively important to my life was gone, and I had no answers there about why, or what happened, or anything. And even to add, kind of further to that problem, was that there were others also that like knew to a certain degree about something, but they also would not offer any. So I mean, the truth of probably one of the most horrible things that ever happened to me in life, the truth was like not only something that I had no knowledge of or whatever, but it was also something that I noticed and witnessed that other people were putting forth a conscious effort to not allow me any type of like closure or any type of knowledge or whatever. And I mean, it still affects me pretty bad. But I mean, I'm talking about it now, but I started thinking about how badly um, people want truth sometimes, and I think rightfully so. I don't think I don't think that people should want for something like the truth, whenever the truth in and of itself is freely offered by God in the world. And that's just kind of simply based on the fact that the world outside of the paradigm of the human condition is not a lie. It persists with rigidity, and there are laws that aren't broken and things like that. So I mean, you know, the world operates in truth. So to have to want for the truth to the point where it causes mental damage and things like that, really terrible things, of PTSD and so on and so forth. Ultimately, accepting that the truth of that particular situation was not going to be anything that was going to be revealed to me, and it was being done on purpose like that, instead of metaphorically, like, continue to try to get to tread water, in trying to find that truth and trying to, swim towards that goal. I had to ultimately decide that, I have to stop, moving in that direction and go in a different direction. And as a result of going in in a different direction, the truth that I found was that, those people that are responsible for, like, lies and things like that, or whatever, purposefully obfuscating the truth or whatever as a means of, like, torturing somebody, they're full of shit, you know. And whatever it is that they're on or they're doing or whatever is nothing compared to, like, what I actually found. And so, I started thinking about it a lot, and I noticed that, people, especially during this last election, Trump, Hillary, Trump, Hillary, Trump, and they were like, there were people that were, like, on different camps of the whole thing, and neither camp could, like, convince the other, about anything or whatever, and nobody cared about, like, truth or facts or anything like that. And as a matter of fact, as a result of not giving a shit about the truth or the facts or anything like that, well, the Satan won the election and people voted for Satan. And so, like, and I'm not saying anything one way or the other, but because nobody cares about facts, so it doesn't matter. But the point is that I noticed that people who, if politics and stuff like that was removed from the equation, then these people would be, like, getting along and stuff. Like, I read a story, as a matter of fact, discussing about during the election when when Barack Obama was the president. A woman discovered in a mall parking lot, I think it was, as they were going to get into their SUV, that her husband voted for Barack Obama, and she became so enraged and angry that she ran him over. She got into the SUV, cranks up, turned around, and then run over her own husband as a result of, pushing a button for somebody that nobody knows, really. I mean, and I started noticing that fairly early on. People get they would fervently, like, depend on, people, I don't even say people, but, like, information that was coming from a source that they didn't know or verify or anything, was causing, neighbors and communities to take a stance against each other because, one person supported somebody that they didn't know, and then the other person supported the other person that they didn't know, so nobody knew anybody. And that's kind of when I woke up and I realized that we President Trump. I said, well, I said, well, that's it or whatever, because my life has pretty much been ruined as a result. One of the kind of the main factors is that I was injured while I was served in the military, 2 foreign theaters, and the condition that I had was described as degenerative. It still is the technical name for it. But not too long after Trump was inaugurated, I, along with millions of other veterans all across the United States, were getting letters that our disability was canceled. So, I lost that. 'Cause they took it away, because they determined that my degenerative condition has somehow regenerated and has improved. On the basis that, like, I haven't seen a doctor at the VA or whatever, which I've tried, but you got to wait 9 months to get an appointment, and sometimes you need to see a doctor like sooner than 9 months. So I was just going to a private doctor. Um, it was that, and then it's always been kind of these hot button issues, I guess that they call them, where the people are just polarized and they hate each other. And to me, hating somebody for something stupid as a presidency or whatever is like, that's really just a sign of like what we have become as a society. I remember a time not too long ago where, well, first of all, when the adults are talking, the kids don't. And also, you didn't talk about politics and things like that. You didn't talk about how much money you got on your check. You didn't. There's things that were kind of off the table. But there's things for a reason. And now we're growing up in this society at the dawning of the age of Aquarius. It's being usurped in a lot of ways. One of the main things that I see is that, first of all, a lot of people say that, like, if you're a man, then you just keep your mouth shut about abortion because of this and that or whatever. And I don't see that being helpful, because it's not just a woman's choice. There's a father, a husband, a man, and I don't see that on the table. The father, the husband, the man. I don't see it anywhere. When I do see it, because I don't really watch too much on my TV anymore, but when I do see it, just like on like the Family Guy or Everybody Loves Raymond or whatever, the father is always depicted as this like kind of buffoon. There was like, oh yeah, whatever, oh dad, all this stuff, whatever. But he deals with everybody's shit as they so. and the whole role of the father has been usurped whenever someone says that it's not a man's choice, it's a woman's choice. Well, I happen to have been in a relationship in my past in which I was informed months later about a decision that was made to take morning after pill and stuff, and I was not included in that decision. And the thing is like, I felt pain. I was sad because we weren't actively trying to have kids or whatever. When she told me that, it really kind of hurt. Because I was thinking to myself, well, hell, that she's pregnant or whatever. She morning after it finally get an abortion, but that could have been like that was. I mean, if it was a thing, like she just killed my child without not even so much of as a discussion. And the whole idea of it, like that's behind, like pro life, pro choice, and all this stuff. It's like, well, I had an experience lead me to believe that God is a real thing, and Christ also too is the embodiment of the love of God, and so on and so forth. And I don't. It's not something that kind of really I chose for myself, because when left to my own devices of choice, I maintained very disciplined logic, skepticism, and things like that, and I was committed to, I guess, atheism in a way, because I didn't see it or whatever, but it was, I mean, it was revealed to me, and I can't deny it. But beside the point is that, like, when you consider pro-choice and pro-life, well, the reason for this video is like I noticed that it connected a lot of dots, you know. Well, one started kind of with Schrodinger's cat. And it's like kind of a thought experiment because there's no actual cat, but it's profound in its application. That Schrodinger's cat is like, you know, kind of the setup to describe certain the quantum kind of dilemma. Is that like, well, so you take the ideas like, you know, you get this cat or whatever, and it's in this box and so on and so forth, and like, and inside the box it's given like food, and then it's given like poison or something like that. But the point is that like you have to determine the state of whether or not the cat is living or the cat is dead, without being able to go look inside of it or try to figure, well, as it turns out, and it's a metaphor, okay, for describing the quantum effect that, you know, it exists. The cat is both alive and dead, with equal potential for each outcomes until it's observed in whatever state that it is. So in a sense, you know, like they said, you know, the act of observing something changes that which is being observed. In a sense, it's very deterministic. Whenever the individual makes a choice to open and look at it and see, it's going to be determination. And that, in my mind, connected to the old adage about, you know, how curiosity killed the cat. And so I was talking to a friend about it, and then we were discussing like how, because I asked him, I was like, well, we were talking about choices because I've adopted, or I'm in the process of trying to at least look into and understand it a little bit better, but I don't want to make choices. Because the making of a choice, you know, kind of is deterministic, and two, you know, curiosity killed the cat, you know. And as an agent of curiosity, that means that, you know, the choice that I make to go open that box or whatever, to look in it, to see, to know, the choice to know, has the capability of killing the cat. And so I asked my friend about the Garden of Eden. I said, well, like, what exactly happened, you know, there? And he says, of course, you know, they were tempted into curiosity that led them to make a choice. And, you know, it's particularly interesting to me because, like, in the story of the fall of man, you know, I don't know whether or not there was like a naked dude and a naked chick in there or whatever that were doing this thing. I don't. Nobody does. And you know, I don't really care to argue with anybody about it either because it doesn't matter to me. But as a metaphor, it's powerful as far as I'm concerned, in that, you know, one, the curiosity that was kind of, you know, injected into the mind of man led to a choice, which resulted in the fall of man from that state of being, from that place. And, you know, there's another tree as well, you know, it's because it says like they had the tree of life and they had the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Well, they were specifically told, you know, don't eat from that tree, but nobody said anything about to them not to eat from the tree of life, you know. So I'm assuming that, you know, I don't know. I'm assuming that it wasn't off limits, you know, or whatever. There was no fanfare drawn to it. There was no attention drawn to anything until after, you know, curiosity led them to the choice to you know, choice to choose. And then, you know, you get free will and everything else. But then you had the tree of life, and it said that, you know, well, you know, they ate from they ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and they're going to be banished from the garden unless they eat from the tree of life and become gods like us, you know. And I considered it, and what I noticed is that, well, the tree of knowledge and good and evil, in just the naming of the thing, presents a disparity, good and evil, knowledge of good and evil, and the choice that lies therein. And then as God, banished mankind, from that perfect state of being, or we fell, or however you want to look at it. We'll go, here's your free will, and you can go make all the choices that you want. And then there was the tree of life that wasn't even mentioned or anything. It become God's. Well, first of all, just in the nomenclature of both objects, you have one that has a major disparity between you make a choice, and the other wasn't even a choice that was on the table, was there the whole time, is also called the tree of life. Well, all of a sudden, the tree of life, guess what? There's all these questions, and questions give rise to curiosity. Curiosity gives rise to making choices, okay? Well, on the path, like to the tree of life, knowing that, what happened or whatever, it's like you'll have somebody that's on that road too, and they go, oh, the tree of life is like, oh yeah, what do you think that's going to be like or whatever? And I'm going to tell them, hey, you're on the wrong road. The other road's over there. Cheers. And I look around the world that we live in, and I think, okay, so there's more choices now than ever, and look at us. We're failing as a society, and ultimately, really, what people don't realize is that choice is simply an illusion. And that you believe that you're choosing something or whatever, but really you're not, because it doesn't matter, like, that there's an entire universe out there and everything, and God and all this stuff that is occurring, along with you occurring as well, and that although we believe that we make choices, we don't, because everything in the universe is moving and traveling along a vector, and all of it continues to exist. And if we truly had like an actual real choice, which we did, and it was a shitty choice, but if we had a real true choice, then that means that at any given moment I could take an action or do a thing or spin around or cough on a butterfly or whatever you want to call it, that would systematically unravel the entire system. And Stalin, who killed a lot of people, said something to the effect of, like, the answers don't matter as long as people are asking their own questions. And when I saw, I was like, everybody being lulled into this false kind of sense of reality is a game show, where the people that play the choice game, they go into this arena where, it's full of doors and stuff, and they just take off, and they just keep choosing doors, because they believe that their choices are going to lead them to something other, than their demise, and ultimately one door. And as I thought about it, I said my participation in this thing pretty much ended it like, well, I mean, hell, the most doors that you'll ever have in that whole paradigm is, in the beginning, this, but then as say you wanted to sit on the sidelines, watch, well, as you observe, like, you would have just a fresh group of people that you never met before, whatever, just constantly coming in, and within the game of doors and choices, systematically, people are going to be eliminated, and when you get to the end of the door and the choice or whatever, this is going to be you, and you're going to be alone. But if you just hang out at the starting line, well, then you always get to meet new people and stuff like that, and you don't end the game. But then I thought to myself, well, wait a minute, because, like, I'm still thinking within the paradigm of the cave, because if I'm sitting there hanging out where all these doors are at, and ultimately they're going to funnel down to, like, one door somewhere off, deep off into wherever, Well, from where I'm sitting, I'm either going to play the Doors game or I'm going to fucking leave. And therein lies the problem: is you make a choice, and what happens in the game of the Doors is simple. I'm sitting there and I'm looking at these people playing this game, right? As a matter of fact, they're all going through these doors and they're going to funnel it down to one door. And I'm like, man, screw this or whatever. I don't want any part of it. Well, when I make the choice that I'm going to leave because I had to make a choice to get there, I have to make a choice to get out of there, I have to go through the door, the front door, and that's one door. So the choice that I made is the same. It's like I choose, if I make the choice in the Doors game to say, okay, you know, I'm not going to participate in this game and I'm choosing to leave this game behind and I'm going to leave this game behind. It's the same thing like whenever whoever plays the game gets to the last door, except I forgo that whole fucking process and the last door is right there for me, which is the door to, the real world. So, and I just decided, I said, well, how can we live our lives where we do what we're supposed to do and stuff like that and everything, but we also avoid making any kind of choice about anything in the matter, because if it's not somebody that's trying to argue about like abortion or like who's president, or who should have what rights in this free country and who shouldn't have rights, and I mean all of it's wrong, and it was all that kind of stuff. And then you go on the internet and the YouTube and stuff, and you see these conspiracy theories about the earth is flat, and the other person says they're idiots, no, it's round, and it's like, it's all ridiculous to me, because if somebody comes up like yelling and screaming and hollering about the world being flat, I'm like, well, okay, so first of all, do you want me to, are you asking me to give you some, are you trying to give some money or something? I don't know. Okay, so then what? I mean, what are you trying to do? Are you educating me because you want me to just have the knowledge or something? No, it's all about a choice. And so what happened was I was, because my YouTube, every time I bring it up, it's all this conspiracy theory bullshit, and I'm pretty sure it's all conspiracy theory stuff, because like, I'm literally living in one, but And I watched, but see, as I watched them, I noticed something that like, that all these people are like trying to get you to make a choice to believe that what they're saying is like, true, but at the same time, you know, believe in what they're saying is true and reject, the alternative. It's the flat Earth. You reject the alternative view that it's like round or whatever, and to me, it's like, well, how does my life change if I adopt the idea that the Earth is round or flat? Well, it doesn't, and even me asking that like is a rhetorical question. It's curiosity. Well, I was in the military. I served in the military honorably, and while I was in, what happens is you go through processing, so like for basic training. And then you get on a bus and you need to go and you sit down and you sit down, and then the drill instructors come out and they tell you you're gonna do this, that. Well, I noticed that like, okay, so as we get briefed on like, okay, they say for example in basic, they say, okay, we're gonna march down a road and we're gonna get an initial issue and you're gonna get your uniforms and stuff or whatever, and that's what we're gonna do. Any questions? And well, then all of a sudden people's hands go up. And they'd always ask, like, well, how long is it going to take to get there? How long are we going to be there? What happens next? And so on and so forth. But what they didn't realize is you're in boot camp. You can ask questions all day long. It's not going to change the fact that what's going to happen is going to happen. We're going there. So as many questions you ask, you're just delaying the process. And, the more I thought about it, the more I thought, well, how does making a choice like change anything? It doesn't change anything at all. It's, say for example, like, because somebody says, well, then what do you do if you don't make a choice? It's like, well, you tell me, because I whatever. It's like I know that I'll get hungry eventually and I'll eat. But if I'm sitting here and I have to go, oh, I don't know, I just ate a couple hours ago. Should I get something to eat? I don't want to get fat. Then you're done. You're done because there's Satan right there. You know, Satan, boom, can make that choice, do it. And then Satan works in your own mind to try to, use your voice in a way cleverly to argue with you within your head in your own room monologue. So then it was like, well, you're not never gonna do nothing. But it's like, but yeah, I am, because, there's times when I'm hungry, and before I know it, I found that I just cooked myself and just ate. Just went naturally with it. And choice hasn't gotten us anywhere. We have more choices than ever, and people are continuing making unhealthy bullshit choices. Continue. More and more trash building up. I mean, the earth's polluted, And there's another thing, the whole people that don't believe in climate change and things like that. I mean, like, for me, whether it's global warming or it's not, doesn't matter. I'm not going to go out and kill myself. I'm not going to go out and start a crusade. I'm not going to go for political office as a result of it. And I'm not, but I'm not saying that, like, I don't care. Like abortion. I don't care. I'm not going to choose one side or the other. Simply. And like, if you think about it within yourself, you're hearing that statement, like, if somebody came up to me, it's like, well, what do you think about abortions? And I say, I don't. And they'd be like, yeah, but what, and they'll sit there and try to figure it out. But the thing is, and it might sound strange or whatever, but I get this strange feeling that, like, the only reason that, like, we age is because we essentially timestamp the discovery of a thing that, prior to, you arriving upon it or witnessing or whatever, was totally free in all states of its potential being. And once the eye of scrutiny is put upon it, then, it catches on fire. So, I believe that there's more to it than what meets the eye, because, I mean, what choices, I guess I have to challenge myself to figure this out, but, like, what choices I've made that have just resulted in just, like, total, nirvana and stuff like that, and I had none. I mean, I have things in my life that mean something to me. Like, I built a business and stuff. I came here to my father, helped everybody put up a good business that works. But I didn't choose kind of that in a way. Like, I saw it, in like a vision or something, and then, like, that's what I did, and that's what was going to happen. There's no doubt, being raised by anything, there's no doubt. Nothing could have stopped me. Nothing would have stand in the way. That was it. That's what was going to happen. That's what happened. So I believe, we're compelled to certain things, and sometimes we fall, so to speak, from grace, and we are confronted with choices and stuff and make decisions. I think that, like, the whole thing is a story about curiosity and making choices. And like, I can see where, sometimes, religion and science might agree with things, because if, oh man, what's I saying? Scientists. Yeah, because if Schrodinger's cat, doesn't tell us anything about, the inherent danger in observation, if the history of science doesn't tell us anything about how, you know, the more we discover, the more we find is out there, as we exist, at least for the time being, within this particular realm. As long as people make choices, as long as people obfuscate the truth, as long as people, you know, want, you know, for things and stuff or whatever, that's not the whole thing. If we were exist in some point, at some level, with a profound connection to the universe and everything and God and all that stuff, then, you know, whatever occurs or whatever that puts us like on the outs with God or whatever, I think the general concept is how, you know, choosing is not the ticket or whatever, because, you know, it was perfect, and we but, you know, that's a metaphor for the human condition, because if God says, okay, like, you're banished from the garden or whatever in that perfect state of being, and, you know, you're cast out, you're cast down from that perfect state of being, then, you know, you are removed from it. I mean, literally removed from it. And being removed from something doesn't mean that it's in your presence. So, you know, what I believe is that, you know, that true state of being, you know, symbiotic with God and the environment and everything out there, until choices started being made and curiosity that killed the cat and all that kind of stuff, well, they weren't cast out into like heaven or a great place or whatever. Choice was the issue there. This is the lesson. This right here. This life is a lesson in choice. And I've determined to kind of dedicate myself to not choosing. Walking away from choice. You know. And do what I want. So when I want to make a video, I make a video and talk about it. You know, if I want to mess on my computer, mess on my computer. I own my own business, and like, you know, although, you know, I didn't have a choice in putting it, like, you know, building it, so I unfortunately, you know, don't have a choice in whether or not I want to pay the light bill and stuff like that. So, you know, should I not want to go to work or whatever? That's kind of one of those things, you know, you prioritize, pick and choose your battles, you know. But for the most part, you know, if somebody says, "Do you want to do anything or whatever?" I'm gonna say, you know, I don't know, fucking whatever. If you're going to do something you want me to go, then like tell me. Don't freaking leave it open ended or whatever, because I'm tired of making decisions. I'm tired of making choices. And you know, that's it.